Welcome, everybody, and so glad to see so many people joining us for this amazing class. This class is about how to find great real estate deals. Okay. And I think all of us, the fact that we're all here, we know that real estate investment can be a very lucrative business. And this is because we can buy at a good price and sell high. There's a lot of opportunity for appreciation, which we're going to talk about a little bit here. But just in the last 30 days, we found a lot of opportunities. We found over 14,000 off-market motivated sellers. And why do we care about off-market motivated sellers? It's because when we are, well, real estate, as lucrative as it is, it's not a liquid asset. And so in order for us to find opportunities where we can buy at a price that's below market value, we typically want to find those that are very, very motivated to sell. And because they need to sell really fast, they are willing to drop the price and sell it at a lower price so that they can cash out. So we monitor these off-market motivated seller opportunities. There are over 14,000 that we found in the states that we cover. Lots and lots of opportunities. And if we just look at the pre-foreclosure leads, and real estate investors are very, very interested in the pre-foreclosure leads, mainly because the pre-foreclosures are the ones that are the most likely to convert into deals. When they don't sell, they're going to lose their house in the upcoming auction. And so they're in a situation where they really, really have to sell, whether they choose to admit it or not. And here in the area that we cover, we found 8,900 new leads every single month. So there are a lot of opportunities there, right? Remember that every lead, if it turns into a deal, we're talking about potentially of course, it depends on how much equity the property has. But typically, we would be looking at, $50 to $100,000 worth of profits. Now we're going to dive into, how we calculate profits and how we can make money off of these deals because every deal is different. So we're going to dive into the actual details to talk about it. But kind of my point here is just to share with everybody that there are tons and tons of these opportunities, and each one is very lucrative in and of itself. So naturally, the question is, how can we find these deals and how do we make money off of these deals? My promise to you today is that at the end of this webinar, you understand how to find great real estate deals and how to make money off of it. This course, from a experience standpoint, it's really good for you if you are a new investor and you're looking for knowledge to get started. Or if you're an experienced investor and you're looking to refresh your knowledge on finding deals, really because there are so many types of motivated sellers, and there are folks that can do really well in real estate investments by just focusing on one type of motivated seller. And in this class, we're going to cover all the big types of motivated sellers. So you may learn something you don't know. From a business model standpoint, this course is for those who are interested in wholesaling, doing fix and flip, which means you buy it and then you fix it up and you sell it at a higher price. Or you want to buy and hold the property, but you acquire it at a big discount, right? Big number, big below market value price. As always, a reminder, you'll get the most out of it if you can, kind of focus on the content. So turn off your distractions and your notifications and use the chat to introduce yourself. The more engaged you are on the chat and in this class, you will get more out of it. For example, I highly encourage everyone to share your contact information using the chat because you never know, who you're gonna meet and make a deal with. And actually, to elaborate that a little more, I highly encourage you to use the chat to introduce yourself, right? And share your contact information. Use the save chat function to download everybody's contact information and make an effort to connect in person after this class. That's very, very valuable. Disclaimer, the content here is for educational purposes only. Always do your due diligence before making investment transactions and investment decisions. We don't offer investment advice, financial or legal advice. So just a quick word about me. I'm an executive partner of Real Estate IQ. And over the years, I have acquired some expertise in marketing and management and automation and data. My background is in more on the science, the analytics side. I have a science and engineering background, and I was always interested in real estate because there's a lot of appreciation power in real estate. Ever since a very young age, I was taught that real estate is the way to build wealth and get rich. Maybe more like really building wealth because we say there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy, right? And so now, but when I really start getting into real estate, I realized that it was difficult to find the knowledge that we need to be successful in real estate investing. It's a pretty niche knowledge, and it's not like you can find it everywhere. It's hard to get good data and technology to help with the acquisition or the selling, even for real estate investments. And on top of that, it was hard to find mentors and fellow entrepreneurs so we can share our experience and learn from our mentors. And that's why we decided to offer the following features and advantages, benefits for Real Estate IQ. We give you access to webinars and classes. We will teach you about deal finding and the data for deal finding. And with Real Estate IQ, we really are bringing you a support system for you as an entrepreneur to find success in your deal finding journey. So when you get a chance, take a look at our Real Estate IQ community and our membership. There's a lot of benefits and opportunity for you to really get in this game. Now, without further ado, I want to start getting into the main content for this class, which is to find great investment deals. And within this class, we're going to have two main segments. The first segment is on how to make money, what we call business models. So we're going to talk about the three main business models people use to make money in real estate. There are also more advanced business models, which we'll cover in another class. And then we'll also talk about how we can find the great deals. So, one is how to make money, and then how to find the great deals in order for us to make money off of these deals. So first thing first, okay, so let's talk about the business models. We're going to cover the three major business models today. One is called buy and hold, fix and flip, and wholesale. So we're going to talk about what it is and also how you can make money. So buy and hold means you're buying a property, you're going to hold it and rent it out, basically. So how we can make money is we want to look at the 1% rule of thumb. So this is the first rule of thumb for everyone to learn. So for buy and hold, we want to follow the 1% rule of thumb, which means that whatever offer price I choose to acquire a property, it should be based on the rent that I will generate. And what that 1% means is that I want my rent to be 1% of how much I put in the property. So, for example, to kind of back this out and figure out what our offer would need to be, let's say that we do a market analysis and we found that our estimated rent for the area is about $2,500 a month. Based on that rule of thumb of 1%, I would reverse that and multiply by 100. It means that I have $250,000 to work off of. And if we realize that when after we walk through the house, that the repair budget, how much it would cost to fix up the house would be $20,000, then it would mean that at most I can offer is $230,000. And what that is, to just kind of complete the math, is that I would acquire at 230,000. I would repair the property. So the total I put in is $250,000. And then 1% of that is 2,500. And the reason we use that 1% rule of thumb is that we know for sure that by putting in this money and by acquiring 1% in rent every single month, it would be able to cover all the cost of acquiring this property, of maintaining this property, excuse me. And then will also yield a monthly cash flow from holding this property. So let me give you an example of what the monthly cash flow would look like off of this $2,500 per month rent. So this would be an example. So let's say in this example, the mortgage is $1,200 a month. We have to pay property taxes, which is $275 a month. We have to pay insurance and HOA maintenance, and subtracting everything from that $2,500 per month, it would yield a monthly cash flow of $575 per month. So that's not bad for owning one property at $250,000. Okay, some people may even go in and calculate a cash on cash return and the different kind of returns on the number to evaluate whether it's a good deal or not. We're not going to go over that very much in detail today. Although I would highly encourage you to study that and learn, download a calculator so you can start comparing deal by deal. Now, that said, when we see a number like this, we pretty much know that it's a good deal. And so if we have multiple deals that we can choose from, it would really make sense to kind of calculate and see which deal looks the best on paper. Although I would also really kind of emphasize that, a lot of times when we get a deal and we know it's a deal, we don't need to find the best deal. We just want to make sure it's a deal, because every deal is every good deal, if we acquire it right, it's a really, really good wealth building opportunity for us. So with that said, that brings us to our next slide. Buy and hold is a great wealth generator. And there are several key advantages of buying and holding the property. First is cash flow. We already talked about that in our example. There's also appreciation. If we hold a property, it can rise up in value, and it's a really good hedge against inflation. We just experienced some crazy inflation. We're still experiencing some crazy inflation right now. And when we hold cash and inflation happens, well, the cash loses value. However, if we're holding real estate property, or if we're holding an asset that appreciates along with inflation, then we can hedge against inflation. There are two types of appreciation when it comes to real estate. One is called natural appreciation, which means I just need to hold a property and the value of the property just increases over time. The other one is called forced appreciation. And what that means is I'm going to fix up the property and bring the value up on the property. And that's called forced appreciation. There are two ways you can do to increase the value for the property. Number three is tax savings. There are different ways where you can enjoy that tax saving through depreciation of the property, write off the interest and operating expenses. And then finally, you can also pay down the loan and build up your equity. So all of that combined is the kind of overall advantage of the buy and hold. So some folks, maybe they're just looking at cash on cash return or cash flow. You may also want to start looking at number 2, 3, and 4, appreciation, tax savings, and loan pay down if you really want to have a full picture of what life would be like after you acquire property. One piece of caution here is it's very easy to get into analysis paralysis. Sometimes I find myself doing that, and I'm thinking too much. I'm not taking enough action. So just make sure that execution is a big part of the game, and it's about acquiring the right deal. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we always want the best deal out there. Just a good deal at the right time goes a long way. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about fix and flip. So fix and flip, there's another rule of thumb, and it's called the 70% rule. And what that means is that I would want to acquire the property at 70% of the market value. Okay, and that's a general rule of thumb. Some people go outside of that. Some people acquire it higher during hot market because they think that it'll give them more of a leg up in winning the property. And if they can exit, if they can sell the property soon enough, they can still make money. Some people like a steeper discount, instead of acquiring at 70%, maybe they want to acquire at 60%, 50%. But the basic calculation is this. So the first thing that we want to understand is what's called an after repair value, which means, let's say I got this house and it may not be, a retail property, which means it's not like ready to sell. There's, a lot of work that needs to go into the house to fix it up. But we don't really care about that necessarily. We care about what it would be after we fix it up. So that's what after repair value means. It means that it's the market value of a similar property that is ready for the general market, general consumer market. So we want to figure out what the after repair value is. And we usually figure that out by figuring out what the market value by running a comparable analysis. So, okay, so let's say we figure out the after repair value is $500,000, and we use the 70% rule of thumb to do this calculation. So 70% of 500K is $350,000. And then the logic or the math is the same. We subtract the repair budget, and let's say it's $70,000. Then our distress offer, the highest we can offer in this scenario is $280,000. So to flip it the other way, I acquire at 280,000. I put the money into fixing up the house, and now I put in a total of $350,000 in there. And then the after repair value just determines what my exit price is. When I sell it, I'm gonna sell it at 500K, so I can make the margin between 500 and 350. Okay. Now, that's the 30%, right? So 70% is everything that goes into the property, and as a in this business model, that 30% is the margin. But that's not all that we're gonna earn. Okay, so there's a couple of pieces we gotta keep in mind here. So where is the other 30%? The other 30% can go to stuff like closing cost, holding and maintenance costs. Remember, we're fixing up the house, and every day, there is electricity, there's taxes to be paid, and so on and so forth. And if we also obtain financing in acquiring and fixing up the property, we also need to account for that financial cost. But because we are still in a pretty good, because we acquire at a good price, we can still profit at, in this example, $16,000, which is a really good number, right? And this is exactly why we want to acquire the property at a, say 70%, because it allows us a lot of the margin to pay for all these additional costs. So that's fix and flip. All right, next, it's called wholesale. So wholesale is a very popular business model, especially for folks that say they're really good at marketing or acquiring the property. They're extremely good at acquiring the distressed property. and then they sell it to other investors. So they can either sell it to a buy and hold investor, or they can sell it to an investor looking into fix and flip. And so they're kind of like the middleman, although they, not necessarily, because they did add value by acquiring that property. And then the buy and hold and fix and flip investors, they already have their way of making money through the business model I just shared earlier. And the wholesalers are obtaining some value by acquiring the property and basically finding it for the buy and hold and fix and flip investors. So, okay, without further ado, let's dive into how the wholesalers make money, right? So wholesaler, if we look at this calculation, this is the buy and hold investor, how they make money. Now, in the previous example, I put the wholesale fees at $0. However, if it is a wholesaler that's acquiring the property, well, they need to make some money too. So they're going to add on to the a wholesale fee here, which means you're going to, instead of acquiring at $90,000, you'll be acquiring it at $80,000 in this example. Okay, so if they're able to acquire at $80,000, then they make the 10,000, right? If that's what it means. As another example for the fix and flip investor, this is the example for the fix and flip. So for the wholesaler, for them to make a $10,000 wholesale fee, what they would need to do is they would want to acquire the property at $270,000, and then it makes it such that the fix and flipper can acquire it at 280, right? 280 plus 70 is 350, and then the math just kind of works itself out. So they are collecting the wholesale fee by acquiring the property and selling it to the fix and flip investors. So to recap, buy and hold, you typically need more capital in place because you got to put the down payments, you got to you're holding the property, so you need more cash in place. And you're basically in the landlord business, right? You're going to be renting it out. Your main concern is going to be being a landlord and handling renters and how to make the most out of your asset. If you're a fix and flipper, you're in the construction business. Your main focus should be on how to fix up the property and how to manage the construction project and doing it in an efficient way. And you gotta be on time, you gotta be under budget or on budget, and all the nuances when it comes to construction and fixing up the property, right? That's gonna be what you're gonna be focusing on. And if you're a wholesaler, well, you're in the marketing business because you're going to be marketing to the motivated sellers, and you're going to be acquiring the property, and then you're going to be selling it. So it requires marketing in both the acquisition side, buying it, and also the disposition, which is the selling side of the game. Now, some folks say they are fix and flippers, and they're supposed to be in the construction business. There are many times that they're also, because they're able, what am I trying to say? Let me see if I can phrase it well. Is that when they have acquired enough property from wholesalers, they realize that, hey, if I can go straight to the motivated seller, then I can acquire the property at its wholesale price. So I can not just make the construction piece of money, the fix and flip money, I can also make the wholesale money. And not only that, I can pick and choose. I can pick the best projects, the most lucrative projects to do construction on. And the folks and the properties that I cannot deal with or they're not as attractive to me, I can sell it to somebody else. So they start getting into the marketing business. And that's all well and good because you can make more money. Just you need to understand that that is a different business model. You are going to be mastering a new business model. Some people do that really well. I know of a lot of real estate investors that are experts in acquiring properties and then doing projects on them. But just gotta understand that if you're just starting out, do one really well, and then you can start adding more of these business models into your business, and then you can make more money. All right. So we're about at the halfway point here, which is the perfect time for us to talk about our second big point, which is the secrets to finding great deals. Now, the secret to finding great deals, I alluded to that earlier. In order to, what a good deal is that I'm able to buy it at a price that's under market value. And in order to buy houses that are under market value, I need to buy it from someone who is less price point sensitive, but more time sensitive, or there's some other reasons that they need to sell the property in order to cash out or get out of a bad situation. And the secret to that is what we call motivate sellers. And we also care a lot about off-market motivate sellers because mainly that when they're off-market, there's not a lot of competition in the talking to these calling to these potential sellers, these motivate sellers. If they're already on the market on the MLS, tons and tons of people are going to be competing for that deal. And so by the time it sells, it's no longer really a deal. So who are motivated sellers? Well, they're motivated to sell. They're either financially distressed or they need to sell to get out of a bad situation. So we're looking for those kind of signals in their lives. And that's where we always educate our clients that, hey, really look at their life data. It's very important. When life happens to us, it's like, I personally have gone through several life changes now in my life that it's like a whirlwind or a tornado. By the time the life change happens, you're looking around, you're like, man, my life has completely changed and I had no control over this. I was just, following, doing whatever makes sense and just like, maybe like following and staying alive kind of thing, right? And so I noticed that, when life changes, we need many different things and we ended up, buying a lot of things and selling a lot of things just to stay on top of that life change, all right? Or just to be, yeah, keeping it together, so to speak. So it's a very powerful data, these live data. And we are specialists, right? At Real Estate IQ, we're specialists in mining this live data. So let's talk about a couple of these key sources of motivated sellers. When we understand why they're motivated, right? And then we understand how to leverage and use this live data really well to our advantage. And that's what this segment is about. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. This is one of the most popular ones. It's called pre-foreclosure list. So these are the houses that are about to be foreclosed. Now, depending on what state you're in, in the foreclosure process, if the mortgage is owned by a big bank, they're not going to go down to a city and foreclose Joe Schmo. So what they do is that they would, in some cases, not all cases, is that they would file a paperwork called the appointment of substitute trustee before they start the foreclosure process. And that to us is a signal that it's going to start going into that pre-foreclosure list. So we call it the pre-foreclosure. So the appointment of substitute trustee first, and then the pre-foreclosure list. A lot of investors are interested in the appointment of substitute trustees because it gives them more time to market to these motivated sellers and more chances to nurture them and gain trust. And pre-foreclosure, tons and tons of people have found tons of success in these pre-foreclosure lists because there's a desperation in this list because their house is gonna get foreclosed. We have a pre-foreclosure class that we also offer, and we actually talk about the full process of foreclosure. And what happens is, if their house gets foreclosed, not only do they lose the house, there's a possibility that they would owe more money to the creditors. And so it's a very bad situation to be. And to me, this is the opportunity for us to really reach out and help them in this process so they can still get out of the situation with their head held high. So motivation is that they're gonna get foreclosed and lose their house. And the market price, we're on top of the market a lot, and we see different list providers. They typically sell it at $200 to $300 per month for each metro area. Now, at Real Estate IQ, we are offering it still at an extremely awesome price. And so we hope to continue to keep that price for as long as we can. And we think you're going to really take advantage. We want you to take advantage of our current pricing right now. It's much better than this market price. All right, the second one is called probate or affidavit of heirship or guardianship. These are the folks that have inherited a property, and they are in some shape or form in the probate process. And within the probate process, it can take a while. So first of all, the probate process can take up to a year, 2 years even. And during this process, the court is trying to figure out how much money is being left over by the person that has passed away, and just get all the debt settled, and then the rest gets passed down to the people inheriting from the deceased. And so there are, several, kind of scenarios. It could be where they're inheriting a property, it's free and clear, or it has tons and tons of equity, but it's a headache to run a property, right? Like, unless you're trying to be a landlord, you don't necessarily, if you don't really want to be in real estate, having a piece of property that you got to take care of can be a big headache. It could be where they have to sell the property in order to pay the creditors, right? To settle the debt. Usually, a lot of investors really appreciate this list because the properties in probate have been largely paid off. For the folks that are older, if they die because of old age, they have already paid off the house or it owns a big part of equity. So a lot of investors are very interested in these leads because when you win a deal, you get a lot of equity. So the market price is not a list anymore, it's per lead, and they charge $3 per lead on the market. So again, Real Estate IQ, we have a lot of advantage that we offer. One of them is just amazing value that we offer, along with how fresh our data is. And so we're really flipping the market. We're disrupting the market based on what we offer. The next one is called evictions. So evictions are a signal where the landlord is evicting a tenant. So there are different kind of scenarios. If it's a professional landlord, eviction is part of the game, and maybe that's not necessary. They're not necessarily motivated to sell. However, once in a while, and I've heard these success story before, that the professional landlord got to a point where they go, well, now it's time for me to just sell my portfolio And if you are able to contact them, now you have a whole portfolio that you can be a deal maker of. And that's that's like a jackpot. Another scenario is, say someone is inheriting a property, or they originally had a property and they moved, they bought another property and they didn't sell the current one because they wanted to be landlords, or they just didn't get around to selling it. And now they are, so they're kind of amateur landlords, they're accidental landlords is what we call them. And now they have a eviction experience, and say the house is trash and all that. Well, maybe it just became too much that the landlord is tired of being a landlord and they wanted to sell their house. So that would be a really good scenario to go in and solve their problem and acquire that property for them. So these usually go for about $1 per lead. And the rest is, about $1 per lead. So the next one is called liens. Liens means, when you owe somebody money, they have the right to put a lien on your property. So there is the IRS liens, mechanics liens, hospital liens, that are all signals of that they owe people money. And then another one is called co-violation. So the city issues these co-violations from time to time to property owners. And a couple of co-violations that you should watch out for is that, say the house has tall grass and, it's not being maintained, and then they get issued the co-violation. It usually means that at least like they can't keep up with the property. Maybe it's a signal of some kind of distress in their lives. Another one could be exposed roof, or like it's being labeled as unsafe. So those are some big co-violations that you can watch out for. There are tons and tons of co-violations out there. And I'm just giving you the top 3 type of co-violation that you can watch out for. Most cities have a tall grass co-violation. The next one is called delinquent taxes. So they owe property taxes. So delinquent taxes or tax foreclosures is the type of ways to find these type of motivated sellers. So, okay, so this is kind of the end of my my overview of the most common types of motivated sellers. So what a lot of investors do, okay, is that they either focus on one, right? Because each of the type that I shared, the life situation is different, their motivation is different, what they're going through in life is different. And so it makes sense to really focusing on one type of motivated seller. And so we can kind of really acquire and understand and recognize the pattern of their motivation, so we can best help them with their situation. I hope that makes sense. Instead of jumping from one to another, it's sometimes being a master of none may not be the best strategy. So most investors, they get really good at one before they move on to another. Another thing that smart investors do is they do what's called list stacking. So what that means is we're stacking different lists. And what does that mean? It's that we're looking for properties that have more than one reason to be motivated. So for example, they could be in the delinquent taxes list, and they're on the pre-foreclosure list. Well, that to me means that they have more reason to be motivated. There's a stronger signal of some kind of financial distress, and they're going to be more likely to convert than somebody that's just on the delinquent taxes list. And so some investors, they do that. They have multiple lists and then they stack it. We also offer a customized service to help you list stack that. And we're also working on a solution where you can just ask a question, and the system or the intelligence will figure out that list for you. And that's something that's super exciting. And just wanted to kind of give you a glimpse of what that's like. If you're interested, we are looking for pilot client for that particular feature, and we would love to work with you. Okay, so the list. How do we get to the list? There are a couple of options. The first one is called DIY, do it yourself. We don't recommend that for the list because, if we kind of look at the different aspects of business, the copying the information, recording the information on these lists is, to me, the lowest value of what you can do. There's much more value, higher value activities like doing marketing, talking to the actual motivated sellers, or maybe other management part of your business. For example, let me just show you one example that if we look at the pre-foreclosure, let's say in your metro area, let's say it's about 1,000 records. At 15 minutes each, it would take you 250 man hours. If we add the appointment substitute trustee and the probate, just getting the information on these three lists, it's gonna be 600 man hours. That's a lot of hours. That's more hours than, right? Let me think. A 40 man hour week, right? And or 4 weeks is 160 hours. So, my example here, my intention is to show you that it's not worth it. We're gonna spend all our time just writing, researching all these records. Why? The list is already done for us. Just buy it. The quality of the list is very important. A couple of things we want to pay attention to. Number one is called update frequency. How updated is the information? Some list providers, they buy the list from someone else, and they don't refresh it very often. So that's what we call a stale list. And that tends to be the biggest waste of your marketing dollar if you have a stale list and you don't have a fresh list. Freshness is going to be one of the key competitive advantage in acquiring properties and also increasing your conversion of acquiring these properties. The second thing we want to watch out for is the extent of research. If we can find more information of these motivated sellers, we can now have a way to kind of filter them down into a more solid list. So I'm hitting them on the type of motivation and the type of a criteria that I really want to focus on. And we're going to show you an example. So the extent of research and the amount of information that you have access to actually also matters a lot. And I'm going to show you again an example of what I mean by that. Last but not least, absolutely not least, is the accuracy of the information. So we want to pay attention to the approach of how they do research and the training and development of the researchers. That's also very important. Again, if you are acquiring the list from somebody who don't own that, who they're buying it from a third party, then the approach to research doesn't really apply because they don't own that research process. So pay attention to how you get the list. Some key elements of a high quality leads list. So these are some metadata, or what we call like data dictionary that we pay attention to. So for example, for the property, for pre-foreclosures, we want to know who the mortgager is, mortgagee, and the trustee, the information of the property, and the financial information of the property. Well, a couple of things that our successful clients use is they are filtered by equity. They want to focus on the properties that have a big equity so that they can acquire it with the margins that they need to make it a good deal. Some of them also will look for, say, what city they're in, and what subdivision they are in. And then also there are other ways to kind of filter this information. So again, the more data that you have, the better. And the fresher the data that you have, the better. Okay, so that to recap, we talked about how we can make money off of real estate deals, what we call business models. And we have talked about the the major business models that investors use today. There are more advanced business models that investors use, and we're going to be discussing that in a separate class, in a different class that's coming up. We have also talked about how we can find great deals and where you can get these off-market leads. So some of you may be asking, okay, well, that's all great. I want to make I want to get into this lucrative business. I want to get into one of these business models. How do I get started? The first one is to get a pre-foreclosure list. The more information, the better. If you're just starting out, I highly recommend the pre-foreclosure list, mainly because they are in the most desperate situation and they're more likely to convert. And on top of that, you will also want to get very good at marketing to the list. We have a class that really focuses on marketing. So I highly encourage you to take that marketing class to understand all the nuances and technique of how to be a strong marketer. Real estate IQ, it just happens. I have to give a plug, right, for Real Estate IQ. We have one of our biggest sellers is our off-market leads list, and the main reason it's such a best seller is that we have a really high quality pre-foreclosure list and a really high value. So I want to highly encourage you to take a look at our list and consider that as part of your marketing engine. So that's step one, get a pre-foreclosure list. Step two is find a mentor and coach to help guide you in that process, right? We all need somebody who can help. So you either, when you are joining this class, you either already have a mentor or coach that you are working with who can guide you. That's fantastic. Congratulations. If you don't have one, we want to encourage you to join the Real Estate IQ community, and when we can match you up with someone who is local in your area and very experienced in real estate investments. So our main intention in here is just to give you the support you need to be successful, right? The more successful you are, the bigger our community will become. And lastly, you want to enlist a title company that can help you with title search and closing. Some of these investment deals, the closing process can be complicated. So you kind of want to have that, at least have that step in your mind. You can just get started with the list, but kind of work on this on the side. But make sure that when it comes time to closing and acquiring the property, that you are working with the title company. And actually with the title search too, when you're getting close to kind of the tail end of the acquisition process and the due diligence process, you really want to get your title search done. Now, that said, we have already introduced you to Real Estate IQ and what an amazing opportunity it is to get into our community and also learn more about the off-market leads, motivated sellers. And there are many advantages about our list. And when you request to see a one-on-one consultation or when you request customer support, you'll learn more about the advantages of off-market leads. We're also recruiting. And so if you're interested in joining us in one effort, one way or another, either from a part-time or full-time basis, we're just looking for talent, and we want to keep adding more talent in our organization. We feel that with the right people and the right talent, we can continue to grow, and our growth is limitless. So I want to encourage you to take the advantage to join us and send me an email at my email address here. And finally, good luck, best of luck, and happy investing. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to pass the mic back to our MC. Thank you.